Hi guys, I'm back finally with the timeline of my experience with Naca. Last time I jumped on, I was on my way to close, and of course I did close that day. There was no obstacles. So I wanted to jump on and give you guys the timeline on exactly my experience with Naca, the whole home buying process. I have some notes so I don't miss anything. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. But I want to start from the very beginning. I actually did not know anything about Naca. I found out about Naca through my sister that lives in Georgia. She and her husband knew about it, and they were going through the program, and I informed her that I wanted to purchase a home. And so she told me, she's like, oh, do you guys have Naca there? I was like, because I live in Missouri, St. Louis. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And she was like, well, look it up. It may be good for you, you know. I was like, okay. Looked it up, and I was like, I don't really know. She was like, well, just go to a workshop. They'll answer any questions you may have or whatnot. She was like, just sign up for the workshop. I was like, okay. You know, really didn't want to, but, you know, she persuaded me. And I was like, okay. So I signed up for my workshop February the 9th. And it was actually at the Naca office here in St. Louis. And I went ahead and went there. And it was only a few people at my workshop. The workshop that I signed up for on the 9th was actually on the 13th. The 13th of February. So it was literally just a few days away. So it was just a few people, maybe 5 tops at the workshop. One of the people that were there trying to get information actually ended up leaving because they were informed that they could not go through the program while currently owning a home. And she was a homeowner. A lot of people try to go through the program just to get investment properties and maybe rent them out and things like that. But NACA expects you to live in the home, and you cannot own any other homes. So kind of went through that 4-hour workshop. And we were able to, if it seemed like something that we were wanting to move forward with, we could sign up for our MC or mortgage counselor. So at the workshop, I signed up for to have my intake meeting with my mortgage counselor. And remember, my workshop was on the 13th of February. My intake meeting, they had me scheduled for the 14th of February, the very next day. And so I remember them asking, would you be able to make it? Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, you know, Valentine's Day, whatever, sure. I can be there. So I had my intake meeting on the 14th. And at that meeting, it was so soon. I think you typically get like an email with your instructions on how to like sign up and things like that. I didn't get anything via email prior to going to my intake meeting. So when I got there, I actually got my NACA ID while I was there, and kind of like filled in my information in the computer. Nothing had been done prior to me, you know, arriving to the office on the 14th of February. So I hadn't done that much research prior to going to the workshop. It was just like the little bit of things that I like looked up, a lot of people's bad experience, and you know, just things like that. It was more of like I was looking into the experiences, a lot of different YouTube videos and things like that. So I really didn't do too much research, so I wasn't sure on what to bring. It was more so I was like, oh, let me just bring my bank statements. You know, that's all I had, like 2 months worth of bank statements. But I had like my laptop, and I had my little like portfolio. So I kind of walked in like, hey, you know, I'm ready. And my mortgage counselor was like, this is it. And I was like, yeah, So at the first intake meeting, he was able to pull my credit, look at everything that was on my credit, see if I had anything that could be an obstacle with getting me approved with the lender. And overall, I had a couple of things, but it was about 3 things that were on there that was like, okay, when did these incidents take place? Like debts on my credit report. And as long as they are at least a year out, I believe it's a year. I want to say it's a year because it was a few years for me, so I was clear with that. Then they will not require you to take care of those incidents, like pay in full, or whatever the case may be. Settle with the debt collector. You just need some type of document stating that that debt is older than, it did not happen within the last year. So a lot of my debt was like several years. So it was pretty difficult. That sounds good, but it was pretty difficult for me to actually receive some type of documentation saying, hey, this didn't happen within the last year. It was more so it had already been sold to another debt collector and things like that. So it wasn't with the original people that I obtained the debt with. So with that came with me trying to figure out how can I get that information. But I also left the office with a list I have. This is me trying to be organized. This is my like home management binder. So when I left the Naca office, I actually had a list of things that I needed to take care of and bring back for my next visit. Let's see it. Okay. So when I left, I received an action plan, which looked, make sure my information isn't, Naca action plan, and then below that it has my next appointment date, a Naca ID number, my name, and the actions that were needed. So my actions that were needed were document verification, minimum required funds, and payoff charge-offs and collections. So I also had received an email from my mortgage counselor too. He emailed me all the documents that I needed to upload onto my Naca file. Sorry guys if I'm not looking at you, I'm trying to flip through all the documents to tell you. So he emailed me, I needed my W-2s for the last 3 years. I needed my last 4 paycheck stubs. I needed my tax returns for the last 3 years. I needed my tax return transcripts for the last 2 years, and my tax account transcripts for the last 2 years. And then I needed bank statements for the last 3 months. And then I needed verification of employment. So with your job, I believe they expect for you to be on your job for at least a year. With my job, I was on there for 3 years, coming up on 3 years. So I was okay with that. So they just needed to verify that information. I needed, I have student loans, so I needed my statement for that particular month for my student loans, and then I needed a few letters of explanations, LOEs, and he actually emailed me separate the different LOEs that were expected. So with those, it could be something like it was like my name variations that were on my credit report. I don't know if you've ever pulled your credit report and it has like, if your name is Ann and it's spelled A-N-N or A-N, and like they don't put everything in, or if they spell it A-N-N-E, Annie, like different things like that. They want to know why you have so many different spellings on your credit report. They want to know why do you have so many different addresses on your credit report. They want to know like all those different things. So I had to write LOEs for those. Those at first can be very, very intimidating. I would say overall, after the first few, it was kind of very repetitive. It was for the same reason. So after you do the first few, you'll get used to it and start spitting them out, because they ask you for any and everything for LOE. But so I left there with this long to-do list and with confidence, because my mortgage counselor, he told me that everything looks good, that as long as I have my required funds and I send him all the required documents, that he can get me pre-qualified within a month. I'm like, thinking to myself, this doesn't sound right. I was thinking like, wait, from the videos that I watched, people were in this program for like a year, 2 years, and then they decide to go with someone else, and they're just like, no, like Naca, no, don't go, don't waste your time. They play too many games. And I'm like, a month? All right. So I went home that night, and that list from the email with the W-2s, the tax return transcripts, the tax account transcripts, my bank statements, like all of that information, I literally uploaded everything. Every single thing he asked of me, I uploaded it all that night. All of it. And so I emailed him and said, hey, I uploaded all my documents. Just so you know, please verify that you see them. Make sure they're on there. Only thing that I didn't do was the LOEs, because I was totally confused about those. Those were very intimidating. So he emailed me the next day, like, great job. Literally the next day, because I had emailed him like in the middle of the night, like, I did it, because I was super excited. So he was like, okay, great job. I was like, the LOEs, I'm kind of confused. So he sent me like different things like that, you know, like an example basically of what an LOE is. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So went ahead and started doing those, sent it over. So as I was uploading all of that, I said I made sure that I was reaching out to my MC to keep the communication going. So once I realized that I wasn't getting the documents for the past debt that I needed, a couple weeks had passed and I hadn't reached out that much, and I was like, okay, let me reach out to him again. I was like, hey, you know, still trying to get these documents to make it to my next appointment, but it's not looking good. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just lost. And he was like, hey, you know, glad to see that you're still working on it. You know, you had got quiet. He was like, you know, try to reach out to the original people that hold the debt that you actually got the debt with. So I tried to reach out to them. Of course, they didn't have any accounts with me anymore. So I ended up making an executive decision to go ahead and pay off the debt. So I called the people who currently held the debt. I called them to try to negotiate some pricing instead of paying it in full. So by doing that, it looked as if paid off on my credit report, paid off on my credit report, but yet I didn't pay it all off, so I wasn't out of so much money. I have my required funds. You are required to keep those in your account the entire time through the process. So I had those in my account. So I paid it off, but then I still needed the document stated that I paid it off, or settled with the debt collector. So waiting on them to email me that or mail it to me. One of the companies, they wouldn't email it, so I had to wait for it to come in the mail. So I ended up missing my original date of the 14th of March to meet back with my MC. So I'm still waiting on the documents. I sent the stuff over to him. So we were trying to determine what would be the best date to come back in.